The journey of a silent learner. Before we begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started. Amman had always been afraid of speaking English. Growing up in small town in India, he was surrounded by people who spoke his native language. English felt like a foreign word, something only meant for textbooks and exams. Though he could read and write English fairly well, when it came to speaking, his tongue felt heavy, his mind went blank, and fear took over. He still remembered his first embarrassing moment in college. A professor asked him a question in English. Aman knew the answer but couldn't form the words quickly. His voice trembled, his classmates giggled, and the professor moved on to the someone else. That moment stayed with him. Since then, he avoided situations where he had to speak in English. But life had different plans. After college, Aman got a job in a multinational company. On his first day, he noticed that most of his colleagues communicated in English. Meetings, emails, even casual lunch conversations. Everything happened in English. Aman felt like an outsider, struggling to keep up. He feared being judged, so he stayed quiet, nodding along, hoping no one would ask him anything. However, deep inside, he knew he couldn't run forever. If he wanted to grow in his career, he had to overcome his fear. He decided to take control of his learning, but in his own way, silently, without telling anyone. His first step was observation. He listened carefully when his colleagues spoke. He noticed their expressions, their tone, and how they structured sentences. Instead of worrying about speaking immediately, he focused on understanding how conversation flowed. He started reading more English blogs, news articles, and business reports. Every time he came across a new word, he wrote it down in a small notebook and searched for its meaning. He also made a rule for himself. He had to use at least one new word in his thoughts every day. If he saw a beautiful sunrise, he would think, "This is magnificent." If he had a tough day, he would tell himself, "Today was exhausting." Slowly, English started becoming a part of his thinking process. The real challenge came when he had to speak. He practiced alone, standing in front of mirror, repeating sentences correctly himself. He also started using voice notes on his phone, recording himself and listening to his pronunciations. It felt strange at first, but it helped him notice his mistakes. One evening, he made a bold decision. He called customer support for a small issue with his internet connection. Usually, he would prefer Hindi, but this time he chose English. His voice shook. He fumbled, but he completed the conversation. It was a small victory, but it made him realize one thing: no one was laughing at him. Encouraged by this, he started engaging more in office discussions. He still wasn't fluent, but he tried. Whenever he struggled with words, he paused, took a deep breath, and continued. To his surprise, people were patient with him. They respected his effort rather than judging his mistakes. Months passed, and Aman's confidence grew. His sentences became clearer, his thoughts more structured. He still had moments of hesitation, but he no longer feared them. One day, his manager asked him to present a project update in front of the team. His old self would have panicked, but this time Aman prepared. He wrote down his points, practiced multiple times, and on the day of the presentation, he spoke slowly but confidently. When he finished, his colleagues clapped. His manager smiled and said, "Great job, Aman. I can see how much effort you have put into improving your communications." At the moment, Aman realized something powerful. Learning English wasn't about being perfect, it was about showing up, trying, and improving bit by bit. Tirade went through a long time considering that talking English smoothly was inconceivable for him. But the truth was, it was fair a skill, like driving, cooking, or playing an instrument. The more he practiced, the superior he became. Amman's travel was not around learning English overnight, it was around accepting in himself, grasping botches, and taking one step at a time. Guys, if you like this video, please subscribe this channel.